Hello everyone, this will be the 18th chapter of The Second Life of the Guardian, written and read by Insect Overlord. This chapter is titled, Kids Should Be Allowed to Curse, but Only If That Kid is Izuku. Izuku was back to walking to school alone. He thought he would be happy, it was what he wanted after all, but he felt like his time walking was tainted, now that Shinso was gone. The first few weeks after Shinso went into foster care, Izuku would catch himself turning to tell his friend about something he saw or some cool new fact, only to be met with empty space. He had been walking alone for almost 2 years now, but he still felt like something was missing. Izuku reached into his pocket to pull out his phone. Time for his favorite distraction, texting Sukuuchi. Anon, "What you doing, old man?" The response was almost immediate. Detective Cat Dad, "I'm 29, you brat." Detective Cat Dad, "I'm cleaning up after your sorry butt." Detective Cat Dad, "What made you think turning in 4 solved cases last night would do? You're not an officer, Anon. I've been doing paperwork all night to clean up after your mess." Anon, "No need to get all angry." Anon, "Maybe if you guys legalized white hat hacking, you'd have less paperwork." Detective Cat Dad, "Your hacking isn't white hat, it's gray hat at best. You're hacking into a police database to steal files. That's illegal. You're a criminal, kid." Anon, "So mean," frowny face. Anon, "And I'm not a kid." Detective Cat Dad, "My sources tell me otherwise." Izuku giggled. If only he knew Izuku was his source. He pocketed his phone before he got to school. His parents still didn't know about it, and his first-grade teacher was far less lenient than Ashido-sensei was. Time for another day in hell. School here was far better than Marinette's last year of high school, but it still wasn't the best. Marinette had had to deal with the loss of her friend Jaluka at the same time as the class began to ostracize her. Lila had sunk her claws into each and every one of them, and they started avoiding her, if they didn't outright bully her. Izuku's first-grade classmates weren't much better, but even though he lost Shinso, he still had Mei, and it was mainly Katsuki and his posse that were mean, not the whole class. Izuku took a deep breath before sliding open the classroom door. Immediately, Mei perked up from where she had been fiddling with some scrap metal and jumped up to greet him. "Izu-kun, check out the improvements I made to my mama's toaster. Hey, did you get your ears pierced?" She reached out and tilted his head to get a better look. "Aw, little ladybugs, that's so cute," she commented. Izuku reached a hand up to twirl at the stud as they made their way to their seats. Mei had recently moved on from her obsession with flamethrowers to figuring out how appliances worked and improving them. "Thanks. Oh, and hey, did your moms tell you you could fiddle with their toaster? I know they got upset last time when you upgraded the doorbell. Not my fault they're too uncultured to appreciate Die Young. I think it was more the volume than your song choice. Agree to disagree." She flipped her dreadlocks over her shoulder. A few months ago, her parents had convinced her to get her hair done into dreads. Mei was born with incredibly curly hair and no desire to tame it. When paired with her sensitive scalp and tendency to bite anyone who tried to brush it, it caused more than one rat's nest. Her moms had given her the ultimatum: either cut her hair short or get dreadlocks. She chose the locks. Izuku doodled on his notebook while Mei fiddled with her heap of what used to be a toaster with a screwdriver. After a few minutes, Izuku remembered what he had forgotten: his quirk. "Oh, Mei, there's something I want to tell you." He was cut off by the door opening and the teacher walking in. "All right, class," he called to the children, most still scrambling to their seats. "Today we'll be going over the characters we learned last week. Can anyone tell me—" Oh well, he could always tell her later. It turned out Izuku wouldn't have to tell Mei anything, because at the end of class, his stupid teacher singled him out. "Oh, Midoriya-san, before you go, I just wanted to congratulate you on your new quirk," he said in a sweet tone, just loud enough for the whole class to hear. "Better late than never, right? I always knew you were too smart to be quirkless." F him. It was because of his casual quirkism that Katsuki thought it was okay to push him around. Izuku smiled back with feigned thankfulness as his classmates gaped around him. "I appreciate it, sensei." Izuku ignored their stares and tried to exit the classroom before anyone could confront him. He'd only gotten a few feet into the hallway before a smoking hand grabbed his shoulder. "Oi, nerd, what's our sensei yapping about? You can't have a quirk. You're quirkless," Katsuki sneered. Izuku turned to face him and knocked his hand off his shoulder. "Yeah, well, my new quirk says otherwise." He glared. Katsuki's hands began to spark. "You!" He was cut off by Mei's commanding voice. "Oh, don't get your panties in a twist, Ka-chan," she said in a demeaning voice. Predictably, this only made Katsuki more mad. If Izuku says he's got a quirk, he's got a quirk. What's it matter to you, anyways? "Oh, shut your trap, hatch eyes. Everyone knows Deku likes to lie about everything." Izuku bristled at the comment. It reminded him far too much of what Lila would tell his former classmates. Izuku only lied when he had to. He was not a liar. "That's not true!" he shouted. Katsuki grinned, giddy to have found an insecurity he could poke at. "You had to have lied about your quirk. You probably traded your body for it or something," he jeered. He doubted Katsuki even understood what he was insinuating. He was probably repeating something he heard an adult say to sound cool. Even still, Izuku began to tear up. "That's not true! Quirks don't even work like that, Ka-chan." He tried to defend himself, but he knew it was a losing battle. "Come on, let's just leave," Mei whispered. Izuku let himself be pulled away. "You're crying because it's true," Katsuki shouted at their retreating forms. He always had to get the last word in. Mei brought Izuku to the park he liked to visit. She sat with him on the swings while he sniffed and rubbed at his eyes. "You know that everything that comes out of Katsuki's mouth is just cow dung, right?" Mei commented softly. The mental image of cow poop coming out of Katsuki's mouth made Izuku start to giggle, and then laugh. Soon, he was laughing so hard his stomach started to ache, which made Mei laugh too. "Ka-chan," he breathed out between giggles. Words don't come out of his mouth, only poop. That set them both off again. When they had calmed down, Izuku turned to Mei. "So, do you want to see my quirk?" "Oh my gosh, yes. I didn't want to ask because you were so upset, but I'm dying to see it," she exclaimed, jumping off her swing and clapping her hands together. Izuku chuckled, before activating Lucky Charm. He wasn't thinking of any particular item when he used it, so he was just as surprised as Mei when a polka-dotted replica of her upgraded toaster appeared in his hands. Mei shrieked, "Is that my toaster, baby?" and then ran to her bag to pull out her hunk of metal. She laid it on the ground next to Izuku's Lucky Charm, and sure enough, they were exactly the same. "Let's check the inside," she declared, before pulling a screwdriver out of seemingly nowhere and opening Izuku's toaster. "This is insane!" she yelled. Izuku tilted his head. "What is?" "The inside of your quirk-created toaster is the exact same as mine, and you've never even seen it before today." Well, that was something. Izuku wondered how that worked. "There's more," he added. Mei's jaw hung open. "More? What else could your quirk possibly do?" Izuku grinned a feral grin. "Mind if I smash your baby?" he asked. Mei looked affronted. "For science," he clarified. Mei thought for a moment before nodding. Anything for the pursuit of knowledge. Izuku grabbed his toaster and used it to smash the handle off Mei's. Then he willed his Lucky Charm to disappear. With a flash of ladybugs, the handle appeared back on Mei's toaster. She shrieked. "What the F? What the F? What the language?" Izuku admonished, affronted. He was all for children being allowed to swear, until he heard the F word come out of his best friend's baby fat-filled face. Was it hypocritical? Yes, but Mei's face just wasn't built for swearing. "I just witnessed a miracle. I think I'm allowed a few Fs," Mei shouted. Izuku just sighed. They messed around with Izuku's quirk for about an hour before Mei had to leave, and Izuku was left alone in the park. Well, not alone. There were other kids there, but Izuku didn't want to play with them. Izuku swung idly, thinking about what Tiki had told him a few nights ago. He wasn't in a different world, he was in the future. His whole second life, Izuku had assumed his friends and family were living alongside him, just in another world. Now he knew they weren't. His mama, his papa, Luca, and Kagami had all died a long, long time ago. Izuku had never really processed that. His family didn't get a second chance like he did. He only remembered his past life because the god of everything had thought it would be amusing. His family didn't have that. Had they mourned him when he died? Had his parents closed the bakery to attend his funeral? Did they move on, or did they get stuck in the cycle of what-ifs Marinette had constantly been subject to? Izuku didn't know. He would never know. Because they were all dead, and he was still here. This concludes Chapter 18 of The Second Life of the Guardian. I hope you enjoyed this one. I'm going to be out of town for a bit. I'm taking my recording stuff with me, and hopefully I'll be able to find a quiet place to record, but I'm not 100% sure. So if I stop updating regularly, that would be why. So hopefully the next part will be up soon. And thank you so much for listening.